The Oklahoma Sports Grind podcast is presented to you by our sponsors. XR Tickets, the latest in all concert and sports athletic events nationwide. XRTickets.com. Blueprint Graphics. And Rapid Service Center in Midwest City, Oklahoma. Visit us online at rapidautorepair.com. And now here's your host, Austin Wood, and Coach Andrew Tice.
Welcome back to the Oklahoma Sports Grind. I'm Austin Wood, and I'm here with Andrew Tice. We started our weekly roundup last week. Was a big week in football. We had a lot of games, but before we get to that, I'd like to say congratulations to the Carl Albert cheer team for winning regionals as they advance on to state. They're looking to win another championship. Those ladies are dominant, Tice.
Yeah, they're going to be going to, I think you said Stillwater?
Yeah, I believe they're going to Stillwater for state, so
Yeah.
that's a huge honor for them, and it's just something that they do every year, so it's they're getting used to it over there at Carl Albert.
Yeah, they got a great program. Congratulations again.
We'll move on to softball, Tecumseh. We'll talk about them first. They're ranked number 5 with a 21-6 record. They're 3-0 in their last 3 games. Their bats have been on fire lately. Their next game is Monday against Meeker at 5 p.m., so go check them out. They're playing pretty well right now. We'll move on to Carl Albert. What else can you say about them? Winning 15 of their last 16 games. They've been just absolutely dominant. They're poised to win the 5A state title. They have a 23-3 record right now. They'll take on Shawnee on Monday at 5:30 p.m., so go check them out. Midwest City, they had a big win the other day against Mustang. Big win against Mustang the other day. That was pretty big for them. Their last 2 games, they've outscored 19-2. So congratulations to those ladies. They have an 11-8 record. They're looking to improve and work their way up to try to make that state tournament. Choctaw, 22-6 right now. 11 out of their last 12 have been victories for them. Their next game is Monday against Lawton at 6:30. If you get a chance, go out and support the lady softball team too. Choctaw's been pretty dominant so far in 6A, so they're looking to make a run for the state tournament as well and try to win a gold ball this year. We'll talk about volleyball. As we talk about Choctaw still, they're 18-5 right now. They've been playing pretty well. They're ranked number 14 in Class 6A. They've won 13 of their last 15 matches. And then they'll take on Deer Creek at Deer Creek on Tuesday. That should be a good one. They'll step up and play a 6A. Deer Creek will be 6A next year, but they'll play a 5A team right now. I believe Choctaw should probably go in there and win that one. They'll probably move to 19-5 after that match. Let's talk about Christian Heritage, defending state champions. They are 16-6 right now. They have beat Lincoln Christian, who was ranked number 1. They'll beat Mount St. Mary, ranked number 4, and Oklahoma Bible, who is ranked number 5 in Class 4A in volleyball. They've won 5 straight. They host Bethany at 6 p.m. on Tuesday. So get out and check out the Lady Crusaders. We'll move on to football. It was an interesting week, needless to say, Tice.
Yeah, we had a lot of upsets, a lot of games that really we looked at, thought would go the other way, and it's all about matchups when you talk about football. Getting into the meat of the season, and district play is about to start. So you got some scores for us, a little roundup from last week, Austin?
I do. The first game we started with, it was a Thursday night matchup. We had Moore taking on Norman.
Ah, yes.
You picked Moore. I wasn't a believer in them quite yet. I thought Norman would be able to beat them. I thought it would be pretty close, but Moore got the W, so that was good for that program. They're improving. They're competing now. They got their W. They could easily get 3 or 4 wins this season, and that's just something to build on for those guys.
When we were in high school, Moore, it was Westmore that was always the team, and now Moore has finally got the monkey off their shoulder. They've won their first game, and I don't know, it was a streak for a while.
Yeah, quite a while.
And they finally got that monkey off their back, and they're looking to go into their rivalry game with Southmore this week. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in our preview.
Yeah, we talk about Edmond Santa Fe, and we talk about Southmore, as you just mentioned. That was a close game. Santa Fe went in there, they thought that they could win the game. and they hung around for a while. They actually had the lead for a great portion of that game. Southmore was able to, show their dominance, flex their muscle a little bit, and they ended up pulling that one out, 34-31. So
yeah, Southmore has a really good young football team. Quarterback Casey Thompson, he's a phenomenal quarterback, so the future is really bright for Southmore. But Santa Fe, they have a lot of talent too.
yeah, we step up to we look at PC North and Choctaw.
Ah, man.
That was kind of a surprise for the both of us. I think there was a lot of people who were surprised by the outcome of that game. PC North was up at, I believe, 1 point 30 or 25-10.
Oh, wow.
Choctaw made a comeback, and they missed a 2-point conversion late when they tried to pass it instead of run it. Not really sure why they would do that. Hand the ball to Tyrell and let him, work for you. He's kind of the workhorse of that team. I believe they played all 4 quarterbacks. They had an injury to Braden Hunt, and then, they went second string, third string, and then even fourth string. So there was a lot of quarterbacks that got an opportunity to play in that game, but they were not able to pull that out. So they start 2-1, and they're out of district schedule. District play will start this week, so we'll see how they bounce back from that game. We look at my favorite game last week.
No, it's my favorite game.
Yeah. Deer Creek and UConn. I've been riding that Deer Creek bandwagon. I thought they were going to start 3-0. I've been high on these guys. They're a good young football team, and UConn did not. UConn, I didn't think that UConn could win that game. I believe that they were 0-2 heading into that game.
They were.
And UConn pulled it out 28-23. It was a pretty close game.
It was a pretty close game. Through most of the game, though, UConn in the first half. Really, it was their ball game. The second half opened up. Deer Creek, being Deer Creek, just fighting back, and it's good to see that Deer Creek, they didn't give up. But UConn was looking for a W, and they got it.
Yeah, that's what you told us last week. You got that one right again. I think Deer Creek, when they move up to 6A, I think they're going to bring a lot to 6A too. I think it's going to be good to see them. They're going to be a competitive football team, and they've proven that they can hang with the boys in 6A. We have a game that was pushed back to Saturday. It was Union versus Broken Arrow. Union started out 0-2, losing to South Lake Carroll barely,
right,
and getting spanked by Jinx. Broken Arrow came in 2-0. A lot of people were really high on these guys. Neither one of us thought Union would start 0-2, and they flexed their muscle as well, and they won 42-18.
And a lot of people can say what they want to say about the weather having a big impact on the game, but when you have good coaches and you have mature players, you overcome those obstacles. So, and again, you got to give Union the respect that they deserve. So yeah, I could not have seen Union starting the season again 0-3, and they didn't. They're not. They beat Broken Arrow a little bit higher than I thought it would be scoring wise for one side of the ball, but Broken Arrow has a lot to work on.
I agree. We'll move down a class. We'll go to 5A as the Duncan Demons, a team that I was pretty high on for the first couple weeks of the season, and then Shawnee put up 48 against them. They traveled to Midwest City and took on Carl Albert. Carl Albert bouncing back from the loss against Midwest City in a big way with a 59-34 win. They just wouldn't stop scoring points. Every time I looked down, they just kept adding points to the score.
Yeah, I believe on defense, Zane Alexander had a pick six, and Diego Richards had 2 special teams touchdowns. So the weird thing about it, it was a game where I think Carl Albert, I was talking to one of their coaches, they said they ran less than 60 plays offensively during the whole game. So it looks like they had big spurts where they went and scored long runs or long passes. So it's a good win for Carl Albert, good bounce-back win as well. Dickerson, I do know that Braxton Dickerson did get hurt. He did leave the game. But it looks like it was just turf toe, and he will be back next week.
Well, that's good to hear. He's an athlete. He's a competitor for sure. We look at Hera taking on Perkins Tryon. Hera, that game wasn't even close. 55-14. Hera bounced back after the tough loss to Jones, so it was good to see them fight back. 55-14 was the score there. We bounce around. We look at McLeod and Seminole. Man, that was a game that you thought McLeod could hang in there and win. I thought Seminole was just a little bit more than McLeod was ready to handle, and that showed to be the case. And I didn't think it was going to be a blowout like this, but final score ended up being Seminole 41, McLeod 7. It was a big win for Seminole. We look at Tallahena taking on Christian Heritage. Now these are both powerhouses, and Christian Heritage had to travel to Tallahena and play there. From what we saw all game long, it was a battle. It was a struggle back and forth all game long. There were some turnovers. There were some big plays. There were some big runs. There was even a ball that bounced off one of the helmets of a Christian Heritage receiver and caught it for a touchdown. But Tallahena prevailed in this one, 25-16. We look at Meeker and Tecumseh. This was a matchup where Meeker came into it having to put up a bunch of points, and Tecumseh had struggled a little bit already. I figured Meeker would win this game, and they ended up winning 35-28.
And one positive thing I want to point out about Tecumseh is last season they did go 2-8. They gave up a lot of points last season defensively. They've lost some very close games. Also, I think this team is just a touchdown away from winning a football game.
Move on to our college picks. OU at Tulsa. It was a high-scoring affair there. I didn't see Tulsa being able to score that many points, but I knew that when you have Montgomery coming from Baylor, the rapid offense that they had down there, and he's bringing it to Tulsa. They're wanting to put up some points. OU, Baker Mayfield played well. It was good to see him, kind of get into a rhythm. So hopefully he can carry that into the season. OU won 52-38. Look at Oklahoma State. They played UTSA. As I mentioned to you earlier, UTSA probably had the toughest out-of-conference schedule in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they took on Arizona week 1, Kansas State week 2, Oklahoma State week 3. That's brutal.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with Oklahoma State this week. Last week, Kansas State was only able to score 30-plus points on them. Oklahoma State scored 69. A lot of that comes off of mistakes UTSA did. 7 turnovers for the Roadrunners, and that's not really good. You're not going to win football games that way. And all 7 turnovers came off of touchdowns, 2 scoop and scores, interceptions, fumbles. It was a terrible game on the offensive side for the Roadrunners. But Oklahoma State got the running game going well. Chris Carson had over 100 yards rushing. Taylor as well. He's another one of those guys, a stable of running backs Oklahoma State has. He had another 85 yards. Rennie Childs had about 85 as well. So the running game really got going for Oklahoma State. Again, it's not a Big 12 team, but it is a good warm-up game going into Big 12 action, going into DKR next week to play Texas. Passing game, business as usual. They looked really good out there. Mason Rudolph, he was very, very confident in the pocket. He took some big hits last week. They're getting better offensively, so I'm starting to like what I'm seeing.
Yeah, they won 69-14 over UTSA. We look at the game of the night, Alabama, Ole Miss. I predicted Ole Miss would go in there and win. You took Alabama. You said roll tide. You said 28-7. I told you it wasn't going to be a game like that. And this is one of the ones I was right on this week. We watched that game a little bit, and Ole Miss just, man, they put it to Alabama most of the game. Alabama had a late surge and comeback, but the game probably wasn't as close as the final score showed. Ole Miss was really pretty much the better team last night, I thought. So it was good to see them get the win. They move up to number 3 in the polls this week. Now we're going to move on to our game of the week. We covered Midwest City, Del City, back to the high school ranks. I still had some questions for Midwest City going into last week. I thought that special teams, I wasn't sure about that. I wanted to see how that secondary would play against a good quarterback and Terry Wilson. The running game wasn't really that effective against Carl Albert. So, I mean, those are 3 big components to any football game. And I wanted to see how they responded. Mm-hmm. And they responded in a big way. They picked off Terry Wilson 6 times, and they had made him fumble as well. That's a big night for that Bomber defense. Midwest City won 37-14, so they moved to 2-1 on the season as they travel to Lawton Ike this week to take on the Eagles.
And how many turnovers Del City had 8 total, I think, 2 fumbles, 6 interceptions, right?
Believe so.
Yeah, and 37 points. You still got question marks on offense. I mean, they look good offensively, but you cannot waste opportunity. You have a situation where you are playing a Del City defense that has a lot of question marks as well. You get the ball back 8 times off turnovers. You score 37 points. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done.
Yeah, and a lot of those were on short fields too. So it's going to raise question marks as to how are they going to be able to drive the length of the football field and put up some points. I think the offense will be fine. They got to shore up that offensive line. There was some some question marks going into the game. They brought in some people to play a little bit new spots, made a couple replacements and everything. So we didn't necessarily know what to expect. Alik had a huge game. Jacob Williams had a good game as well with 3 interceptions of his own. It was a career game for him. So it was good to see that Bomber defense play well. Now Del City, they have some work to do. They have a brutal stretch coming up. They have Altus, Ardmore, Duncan all coming up soon. Those are all top 10 teams in Class 5A. 2 of those games are on the road, and only 1 of those are at home. So it'll be interesting to see how they shape up. You know, they were one of the top 2 teams coming into Class 5A in the preseason rankings. So we're going to see if they're going to be able to hold up to that or not. That'll do it for this week's roundup. Anything else?
No, that's about it. It was a good week of football. Like you said, it was weird.
Very weird.
But now we move on to conference play in college and district play in high school. So it's getting better from here.
It should be fun. That'll do it for this week's roundup. I'm Austin Wood.
I'm Andrew Tice.
Thanks for listening.
The Oklahoma Sports Grind podcast is presented to you by our sponsors. XR Tickets, the latest in all concert and sports athletic events nationwide. XRTickets.com. Blueprint Graphics. And Rapid Service Center in Midwest City, Oklahoma. Visit us online at rapidautorepair.com.